Hi guys, welcome back to Smooth's Workshop. Yet another inbox review of a Tamiya 1/12 scale motorcycle. Ooh. Just have to reiterate again, just in case somebody randomly asks me, can you do a kit review on this? Can you do a kit review on that? If I've got the kit physically in my hands, yes, I can review it. All these kits are ones that are in my stash. Some are vintage kits. I'm working through them in a numerical order at the moment. If you want me to review something, by all means send me it. I'll review it for you. I'll give you an honest appraisal of it. Okay, so in this one we are reviewing Tamiya's 1/12 scale, Honda CBR400F 14039. It's number 39 in their 39th bike, basically, that Tamiya made in their bike series in 1/12 scale. It's another vintage kit. And again, it's no longer in production, but you can get them on eBay from Japan. I don't know of any major retailers that are stocking vintage kits that are no longer in production. History of the kit. This is better known as the Baby Blade for any bikers out there. The Honda CBR400F by Tamiya came out as an unfaired version. I'll just flash up a picture. The kit number for that was 14035. It was released in 1985. It was a new tool, and I'm actually building one at the moment. It's not being videoed or anything. You can follow the progress on my Smooth's Workshop page. Smooth's Workshop page on Facebook. I'm about halfway through the build. It is the one that I detailed in my What's in the Pipeline video that I'm going to test the Alclad lacquers on. Okay, and I'll just flick up a picture of kind of where it is now. I have stripped it down, done a bit of wet sanding to the paintwork because I wasn't happy with it, and I've also drilled the front disc since then. But that's that one. Right, going on to this kit. It's based on the same kit, but it was re-released in 1986 as a new tooling. If you're going to ask me what the new tooling parts was, they'll have changed the frame because the old one didn't have the fairing on it, or the fairing mounts on it, and a single rectangular headlight on it. This one has a full fairing on it and twin round headlamps on it. It's based on a bike lovingly renowned by the biking community as the Baby Blade, Baby Fireblade, and it's a CB400F. And as I say, this kit was a new tool in 1986. There have been no other revisions since then, and it's currently no longer available. Both the CBR400F unfaired version and this version, you can still pick them up relatively cheaply from Japan. They must have a stash of them somewhere, and the only place that I've managed to be able to get them from Japan is via eBay, and not via a major online retailer. Kit itself is a basic Tamiya kit, same as the RZ250 that I reviewed, and the Kenny Roberts and Yamaha YZR500 that I reviewed. Same kind of kit, basic kit, early Tamiya kits, and this is number 39 in the series. Okay, let's have a wee look. Right, I'll just bring the camera around. Now this box is a bit bashed, if you think about when the kit was made, so it's been through the wars a bit. This is one version of the box art on the side, which is the same as the one on the front, and this is the one that's telling you it's number 39 in the series, item number 14039. And if I flick on the other side, it does provide decals in the kit to do these other two colour variants. But the one that this one is is basically it's a silver bike with a red seat and the blue and the red decaling on it. So I'll just put my camera back to its normal position and check that you can see what I'm doing here. There we go. Right, so into the unboxing. As I say, my box is bashed. It's a 1986 kit. So what are we into there? A 30-year-old kit. Okay, so this kit was made 30 years ago, and that is why the box is in the condition that it's in. Can you see that? Have I got that all in shot properly? Have I got my lighting correct? This is right. Okay, we're ready for the review. Right, as per as per normal, I'll just get myself a wee pointy stick. Comes with a set of instructions. Pull the light across, Cherry. Comes with a set of instructions depicting the bike when it's all been painted up. Now I'm just going to try and hold this up because I was just thinking it tells you a bit about the history about the bike, but maybe if I can get this sitting in the right position, you guys can pause it and read it in your leisure. Alright, tells you all about the bike, how it was developed for racing and for the TT and all that. Okay, right, so that's that. On the back, again, as per normal Tamiya standards, it gives you all the colour callouts. Now, rather than me shouting them all out, I'll try and get this close enough for you guys to focus on. This is all the colour callouts of the Tamiya paint colours. Now, it does tell you to use a Tamiya paint marker Chrome Silver X11. Tamiya paint markers are no longer available, so you have to make do with the X11 standard chrome paint. And it calls out gloss aluminium, but it doesn't tell you anything more than gloss aluminium, and this confused me on a couple of early kits when I first started back in the bike building. Tamiya do a rattle can range. The gloss aluminium is TS17. So if you want to replicate that colour, I believe it's used on the frame and the main body colour on this. So gloss aluminium is TS17. You can just, get a gloss aluminium paint of the manufacturer of your choice, but I tend to stick to the Tamiya colours. Again, it tells you roughly how to paint it. Tells you special edition, which this is offered by Honda in silver or red base with white or blue side panels, and the red base model shown in the box side, blah 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 blah, decals, and it gives you a little bit about why they're painted each colour. So, standard black and white. I'm just folding this off camera. Standard black and white instructions. Now there are parts included in this kit that you won't use. You'll have spares, and it tells you of which parts and which screws are the parts that you won't need. So you will have bits left over. It starts off with the assembly of the bank of the 4 carburetors. And then the assembly of the engine and the crankcases and the starter motor and everything like that, and then it tells you to put the carburetors onto the back of the cylinder heads and then put the cylinder heads onto the main body of the engine. This one is a similar build to the RZ250 that I'm doing. You build and paint up the engine, but the frames are in 2 halves and you can't put the engine in later. You've got to paint them all up, and then each half of the frame goes on around the engine. Okay, on to the next bit. We're on to the next section, and it tells you. Just making sure that I'm not making too many shadows on this, and I've got the light on it because I'm quite bad for not doing that. Right, the next bit tells you to build up the airbox and the rubber blocks that go on that the carburetors go onto. Can you see that? Yep. It then tells you to put both sides of the frame with the airbox in the middle. Now remember to put this airbox in, guys, as well as the engine. The only reason I'm saying that is when I went to build it, the unfaired version, which I'm working on just now, I had a total brain fart, and I'd had my engine all ready to go into the frame, and I totally forgot about the airbox. So I put the engine in, put the frame together, I glued it all, and then went, oh, sweary word, I didn't have the air filter box in. So just remember to put the airbox in. It then tells you to make up the rear shock absorbing, bouncing, stopping bouncy damming. the rear shock, and it tells you to insert it in at the bottom of the frame with a little lever system that goes onto it that you don't glue. It also tells you to put the rear mudguard in, and then as per Tamiya standard. Now, if I remember rightly, the good thing about this one, now there's a lot of chrome parts in this that I'll go into later, but you can actually put the swing arms together before putting the chain and sprocket set on, from memory. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure you can. Anyway, it's showing the rear swing arm in 2 halves, with the rear brake caliper, putting the rear wheel in that on, and building up the rear swing arm, which consists of 3 parts, and then you've got your chain guard. Next part details you putting the exhaust cans together. There's 2 exhausts, one runs up either side. It then tells you to fit the rear suspension using a rather rubbish method, which they no longer use, thank goodness, by putting 2 silly little plastic plugs in to hold the rear swing arm assembly in. I much prefer the newer ones where they use the screws. Only reason I'm saying that is I lost one of my plastic doofers and I had to put a screw in and scratch build something for it. But anyway, yeah, pitfalls. Again, a nice black and white photo of how it should look when these parts are all together. It tells you about painting the exhaust up, fitting the horn, the 4 front pipes, how they go into the link pipe and then into the 2 rear silencers, and the fitting of the centre stand. The nippy thing about this kit, nippy, yep, Scottish word, annoying. Petrol tank, the side panels and the rear cowling are all one part. Sorry, they're in 2 halves, but they're all sort of moulded into one part. And what I did find when I put all this together, apart from you've got to take all the seam line off, in the instructions it tells you to clip it over into the frame, and there should be 2 little locating lugs that goes into the frame. What I found was they were too wide, and when you squeezed them in they wouldn't stay, and you had to actually glue them in. So that's just a little bit of if you find one of these kits, there can be a bit of fiddle. It's more due to the early tooling, I think. And there we go, that's the bit I was just on about. It tells you to split it apart in the middle there, put it over the frame, and it should go click click. Well, mine didn't go click click, it just fell over and I had to squeeze and glue. Then tells you to put all the foot pegs on and various little grills and bits and bobs of doofries. Tells you all about the painting and where the decals and that go. I'm not onto the decaling on my one yet. I'm kind of at the, I've done that stage, but then I wasn't happy with the black, because after handling the bike the fingerprints showed up, and black's notorious for showing fingerprints. So that's why I don't think I've got it handy, but basically I've got all this part underneath that all masked off, ready to respray this. Tells you to put the front mudguard together in 2 halves. Tamiya, stop doing that please. They still do it on their modern bikes. It just means when you glue them together you've got to take all the join away and rub it down and all that to get a nice finish. The seat is a mixture of a couple of colours. It's a red, and then they ask you to put that on, and the gear levers, the side stand, the foot pegs, the indicators and everything like that. And then it goes on to the front fork construction. I've actually got now, funnily enough, I prepared earlier off of my other model. There's the front forks. Hopefully I can make this out. Let's see if I can get this light down in a better light. There's the front forks. Oh, we're getting flickering on the screen, we don't want that. There we go. There's the front forks. I didn't strip all the chrome off on this, and I'll tell you why when I get on to actually doing the sprue shots, even though there's a couple of ejector pin marks and that here and there. So that's when it tells you to do the front fork assembly, and it'll be exactly the same as the one that I'm doing just now. So I'll just put that back in the box, take my light back up, stop it flickering. There we go. It then goes on to, and this is exactly the same as the other one. Oh, hold on, wait now, I'm just going to check something on the engine building. Does this one tell you to put weight in it? Oh, this one doesn't. Right, on the earlier one, when you're putting the engine together, there's some flexible hoses. It's for the oil cooler, and they go in through the bottom. You tie a knot in them. On the unfair version, it actually tells me to weight the engine. Does it tell me anywhere here? No. So on the other one it tells me to weight the engine, and this one it doesn't mention it. It was just something that clicked in my head there when we went to this part, the oil cooler pipes and that. Yeah, so when you're fitting the front forks, it shows you a diagram there. There's the oil cooler. You slip these two hoses through that come through for the bottom of the engine up through the exhausts, through the front forks for the oil cooler, and then the fitting of the oil cooler, which I've fitted one half of the hose, but I've not fitted and glued the other, and you do have to glue those thicker hoses on. They won't stay on, they will fall off, and they're a pain in the... It tells you to fit the handlebar grips on and the brake levers and everything at that part. Then it goes on to the speedo binnacle, well, the decals and everything on it, and the headlights and the two headlight lenses. Wheels exactly the same as the model I've just built. They're built up of a number of pieces and put together with the discs on. It then tells you to assemble the front fairing with the speedo binnacle in. So unless you're good at masking, you're looking at painting these two halves separately, and I hate when they do that. So, because you end up with a seam line down the middle, unless you're good at masking. But I'll get to that when I get to that. But yeah, two fairing halves together with the speedo binnacle in, and then it tells you to fit that to the frame along with the canopy, and then that's actually over the front forks. Yeah, so this one you can actually get away with hooping the front forks through, but you can't have the front wheel on at the time. It tells you to put the mirrors on and then the front wheel through, and I think pretty much that's it. It's a basic kit, very basic, along the lines of the RZ250 in regards it's a basic kit, and the two frame halves have to go round the engine, blah blah blah. Okay, right, put this back in here. Okay, so the first sprue in the pack is, it's like a greyish colour. This is sprue A. I'm just looking at the back of sprue A. It doesn't really tell me a date that it's made, but I mean the kit's 1986. What I have found with obviously 86 is a lot newer than the other kits I've reviewed. The level of detail on the engine fins and the brake discs, with the drilled out parts on the brake discs, and the wheel detail and the handlebar detail and everything is actually very, very good in this kit. Now I'm just going to have a wee quick look. I can't remember having to take too much flash off of this. There is a little bit of seam lines on it, which need to be addressed on the frame. There's not a lot of flash. It is quite well detailed. Yeah, there's hardly any flash on this at all. But yeah, there's some seam lines on the frame that you'll have to take care of. Now I'll just move that to the side. So that was sprue A. That's the engine and the frame and the wheels and such like. Then we come into another pack, and oh, I've got something rolling about in there. I better make sure I don't lose that. If you watched my RZ250 inbox review, I thought I was devastated because there was a part missing, and I'd got to this stage and the part had fell out, so I'm going to tip it into the box. Alright, give it a wee... Right, and a little part has come off the frame, and I know exactly what that is anyway. Right, okay. Because it's exactly the same as the other kit. Right, which one's this? This is sprue B, so we'll do sprue B. Sprue B first. Sprue B is this horrible, really soft white plastic that you've got to really watch when you're dressing it up. A couple of moulding imperfections on the seat. There's a little bits of flash around about it all, and this is what I was on about. The petrol tank, the side panel and the rear cowling are all one part, but it's in two halves. So you've got to glue them together, and then you've got to address all the seam lines. There is a rear seat. Now it's a two-seater bike. Okay, so there's the rider sits on there, and the rider sits on there, and the passenger's got a wee bit at the back. But it does have a rear seat cowl which goes over the seat and turns into a single seater. Okay, you've got a belly pan. It's all one piece, so that's good. You've got a rear number plate. Excuse me. You've got a small seat pad here, which will be the same colour as the main seat. Actually, I've got the seat off the other one. Where have I got it? I've just got to airbrush it, because when I started this model I didn't have my airbrush. That's the colour of the seat once you paint it up. That goes, it's the exact same, that's what I'm saying, it's the same. They say it's a new tooling, but I think they've only changed certain parts in it, as the earlier unfaired one, and that's that's a ridiculous colour they ask you to do the seat. Where do they have that? There it is. Set that back up there, out of harm's way. Go. And sit in. There we go. Again, Tamiya, stop doing this. Front mudguard and 2 halves. Just the seam line, it's over irregular shaped parts, and it's just a total pain. So yeah, so that's that. A little bit of flash, horrible white plastic, gouges really easily. Yep, so that's that. And then we're on to Sprue C. It doesn't have any date on it. And Sprue C has the chain and sprocket, which has got a bit of detail on it, but it has got a bit of flash on it in places. Foot pegs, top yoke, speedo binnacle, sorry, that's bottom yoke, top yoke, a couple of grab handles at the back, oil cooler, centre stand, front collector box for exhaust, back of the speedo binnacle, petrol cap, and your 4 exhaust downpipes, horn, front of the speedo binnacle, the rear part of the exhaust, and another part that goes into the rear of the exhaust, a couple of mirrors. That's your number plate holder, rear brake light holder, and that goes onto the back. Your chain guard, 4 indicators, rear mudguard, and your 2 air box halves. Looking at this, there is some flash on it, and typical early Tamiya kit, there are lots of seam lines that will require dressing up. Okay, so that's those 2 parts, and in fact I'll just leave them out the bag just now, just to save for time. Right, this is normally the horror part, but I can tell you on this kit it's not. We're on to Tamiya chrome parts. Now, on this model it's more a simulated aluminium finish, chromey aluminium finish, and the chrome quality on it is very nice. That's why I decided to keep the chrome on the other one. Where all the injection marks are, they're in places that aren't really seen, and you can touch them up. There's not any major seam lines on the front forks. There is a little bit. I suppose you could strip it all off and dress it back, but it's not that bad. Good thing about it on the front forks is the lower half of the front forks is black anyway. The only bit of chrome you want to keep is the top part, so you can dress up the bottom bit. And not a lot of the top part is actually seen because it's all covered by the fairing. The tops of the carburetors have got the chrome in them as well. The only bugbear, and I need to find a good metallic paint, probably an Alclad that would give me a decent chrome. But the exhaust in 2 halves. The good thing is though, the way they inject them in is they undercut them. So the actual tab where it mounts onto the exhaust is on the part that you would dress up and take the chrome off to glue it together. It's not on a visible part of the chrome. So apart from a small seam line on either side, there's no major issues with that, and the headlight and everything is all in the chrome as well. So although a lot of people hate chrome, I do know, because I didn't bother stripping it on the other one, that it's not bad. It really isn't that bad. And the bits on the chrome that you need to paint, because I mean the rear hangers on this is more like a polished, or it's slightly matted, an aluminium colour rather than a shiny chrome, and that is quite similar to what the bike has. So I didn't strip it on my one. So it's up to you whether you strip it back or not, but I'm managing to build mine, and we'll see when we get to the end result, but it looks not bad. Right, I'll keep that black plastic part in there so I don't lose it. We then have another bag of sprues. Again, Tamiya and their staples. Ding ding, right. Now what I don't like about the way they've bagged this is they've bagged the clear parts and the white fairing parts, and they haven't put the clear parts in a separate bag. Naughty Tamiya. As I say, it's out of production, so they probably couldn't care less. Again, it's that horrible white plastic, which is really soft, marks really easily. There is a lot of flash on the two fairing halves. There is some flash on the mirrors. I'm just having a look on the back of this. 1985 was the tooling for this particular part. So when they say a new tooling from the original CBR400F, the unfaired one, the new tooling part is basically just this sprue and obviously this. All the rest is the same as the previous kit. So when they turn around and say, oh, it's a new tooling, yeah, you've got an extra sprue in there, and the new tooling is it's actually quite poor. 1985 though it was made, you know, I mean, we're into the noughties now. Not a lot of detail on it, rivet detail and all that. It's an early kit, I'll let it off. Not impressed though. And similarly, because this wasn't bagged separately, there are mahusive, I like that word, scratches on the clear glass. But I'm not panicking about that because I will dip that in clear. Again, for it being in 1/12 scale, I wish I could remember the word that Lee used when he was doing his reviews. I'll need to look at his reviews again when he's talking about the clear plastics. For a curved screen, it's thick bits, thin bits, thick bits, thin bits, like a magnifying glass. It doesn't look like a clear piece of glass or plastic. It's not in scale. It's pretty poor. Got the indicator lenses. They're alright. A wee bit of detail on them. I mean, they're not bad anyway because you paint the orange in from the inside of them. And the two headlight rounds, nice wee bit of detail on them. So that was that. That's just a shame that they didn't bag those two parts separately. Normally Tamiya bag the clear parts separately so that even if they do bounce against the other parts, they don't get ruined. Right, back to the usual bag of Tamiya tyres and screws and bits and bobs. And just come out the bag. They folded this over about 17 times and then they've put staples in it. Right, what have we got in here? One tyre, two tyres. Standard Tamiya 3 screw setup, front wheel, rear wheel, and where the front forks go onto the headstock for allowing them to turn. They have a roll of thin tubing for the brake lines and everything, and they have a roll of thick tubing. That thick tubing that's in that kit for the oil cooler hoses is just, there's no extra, just long enough to make the two oil cooler hoses. So when you're making this, cut it exactly in half. Okay, there's no extra, there's no leeway in this, there's no extra hose. Oh, and there's a hole in this bag, that's handy. Right. As long as it all stays in this kit box, I don't mind for when I go to build it. Right, the tyres, they're a bit like the YZR250 tyres. They're rubberised, but they're not very realistic. There is some flash along the middle of them. The way to make them realistic would be to take a sanding stick and rub it down as if it's been used on the road. It has got the tyre size on it, 130/80 by 18, and it does actually say Dunlop on it. So the casting of the tyres and the treads and everything is actually quite nice. And similarly with the front one, it's a Dunlop, tells you the tyre make, and that's a 120/80/16. So it's an 18-inch wheel on the back and a 16 on the front. Again, a little bit flashed down the middle, but they can be made to look real. So that's those bits. And right, the decals. I do know the decals on this are yellowed. I'm just looking to see what this extra bit is. There's nothing exciting. I know the decals on this are yellowed, and I'm not going to get them any better than what they are. I have had this sitting under a UV light for 3 days, and I've had it sitting out taped up against the kitchen window for 2 weeks, and although the white part has lightened, it's still yellow. These are made by Tamiya, so they are the horrible thick Tamiya decals that you need a strong decal setting solution to put on. This one's got a bit of a scratch in it, might cause me a problem when I'm fitting it, but it's a vintage kit. Okay, I didn't pay an awful lot of money for it, £12 or something. Yeah, the decals are horrible. They're the horrible thick Tamiya ones. I'm just looking to see if they're in register. No, they're a bit out of register. Where the red shading goes round the white, it's not exactly in the right place. So that's slightly out of register. That bit's alright. Yellow and that's all inside there. Yeah, so it's not too bad. So the decals are not perfect on this one. But again, it's a vintage kit. It's no longer available officially, as in your major model stockists won't stock it. They'll have cleared all their stock, they'll have shipped them off in a job lot, and you'll only find them on eBay, or there's brand new kits in Japan. But the problem with getting the ones for Japan is the shipping costs are really prohibitive. So it's a nice wee kit. As far as I'm concerned, it's exactly the same kit as the CBR400F that I'm currently building and is on the Smooth Workshop, and there is it's build number whatever it is, I can't remember. It's in the build section there, and there's photos of how I've done so far with that. This is the exact same bike, different colours, and it's got a fairing on it. So that's another wee kit review of the bike, one of the bikes in my stash. As I say, I'm going up in numerical order. The first one was my 002, which was my RZ250, and then I did number 26, which was the Kenny Roberts Yamaha YZR500, and we're now on to number 39. These are older kits. We'll eventually get onto my newer kits, and you will see the difference in the quality of a modern Tamiya kit compared to all these classics. But it's a basic kit, so if you see one for sale on eBay or anything, don't pay a lot of money for it. Don't pay more than £20 for it. Don't. So I hope you found this useful. Terry from Smooth Workshop. I'll see you for the next review. Bye!